Today, I will kill you. Don't worry, I'm not a murderer. At least not physically. Conceptually, perhaps. Let me take you on a short musical journey to demonstrate such a transformative process. You take any sound, like this annoying one. What can I do with that, right? Well, if you change its nature by changing its waveform, adjusting filters, modifying the volume and shape of the sound, modulating oscillations and adding effects, then you have created a whole new sound. And if you do that long enough, then you will have gone from that basic terrible noise that I completely killed to an actual music composition. As a philosophy student, I like to philosophize about anything, including my passion, which is music. But very quickly, I found out that an analogy could be made between music notes and humans. And ultimately, I understood that contemplating about music actually came down to examining my very identity and existence. So let me share with you the 5 life lessons that music taught me as an artist, but also as a human. As you may have experienced yourself, countless original ideas come from mistakes. For instance, I've often been playing music, and then my finger would slip, and I'd accidentally play the wrong note, open a new plugin, or activate an effect that was not intended, but in fact come up with an interesting sound. Funnily enough, I'd rethink the whole project to build it around that new unexpected idea. If you were to watch a documentary about an artist's experimental flow, oftentimes you will experience this journey of innovation through mistake. And that is because failure is a crucial part of the creative process, or any process for that matter. But for that, you need to surrender to the possibility, or rather the necessity, of being wrong. That works for music, but for us too. Behind an athlete, artist, or genius, there's rejection, frustration, countless breakdowns. The reason why we admire them, though, is because they have the ability to put their ego aside, overcome the obstacles, and get back up. You won't see it because that's the non-glamorous part of the story. But maybe we should start looking at failure and mistakes through a different lens, because I think they're the birthplace of growth, lessons, and innovation. Just take a second to think of all the things you would do if you were not afraid to fail. One thing that I've learned when producing a song is to create with my ears, not my eyes. It might seem self-explanatory, but when making music, you're using a software in front of you. It has all those functionalities that I honestly just pretend to understand, but that allow you to visualize and manipulate sounds. But because I have a preconceived notion of what a waveform or spectrum analyzer should look like, I already think of what the result should be even before starting the creation itself. And that is making music with your head. But when you create with your gut, it doesn't matter if something looks funny, weird, or even ugly. If it feels right, it is. And there's something fascinating happening when we pause our thoughts and let ourselves be guided by our sensations. And perhaps the best musicians are not creating symphonies as much as emotions. The thing is, in the West, we come from a philosophical tradition that has placed the intellect above the physical. Descartes is famous for his "I think, therefore I am," which led to the mind-body distinction. However, I believe that the issue with this dualism is that humans have become disconnected from their senses. It's more than normal to intellectualize. Aristotle suggested that we were rational animals. But it also takes something away, something from the mental to the human experience, our feelings. When my little sister was born, my mom knew there was something wrong. She didn't know what it was, but deep down, she felt it. She just knew. When she told the doctors, they said that everything was fine, that her intuition was wrong. The next day, they came back with bad news. My newborn sister needed to be immediately transferred to another hospital. And just like that, endless surgeries followed. And for a little while, they didn't know whether she'd make it or not. Spoiler alert, she's fine and very much alive now. But this taught me a lesson. An intuition is never just an unhinged vision. I believe it is an actual form of knowledge. We're only humans. There's much more to reality than we can ever conceive of. And thinking that something is wrong based on the fact that it cannot be immediately explained is foolish, and as we've seen with my sister's birth, potentially deadly. Now, this is not a call to irrationality. It is a reminder that we have a body with senses and feelings too, that we should not forget about them. So always listen to your guts. They might have something to say. A C on its own sounds good. But a C played with an E and a G sounds great. And a C played with an F and an A sounds differently amazing. Our behavior and the way we sound change according to the people we're with. I am not the same person with my parents, my friends, my partner, strangers. I think differently, I act differently, ultimately I am differently. We are different with each person. But it doesn't mean we're not being ourselves anymore. I think it means that everyone reveals something unique in us that would not exist otherwise. But more importantly, I think it means that people make us greater than we could ever be on our own. It takes a lot of people to make you, you. I know it can be disappointing that we need others. And I don't just mean on a social level, but fundamentally. We like to think that we're those fully independent people capable of doing everything on their own. But the truth is, our identity relies on others too. As African philosophy Ubuntu praises, I am because we are. I've always been taught in various philosophies that the truth was inside, that I must look inwards. But what if the truth or meaning was actually among and between us? Because a C on its own is enough, but a C played with other notes is when the music starts. The core attitude in art is not setting, but exploring. Of course, confining, defining, and fixing things is more than natural. It helps us apprehend them better. But categorizing also means building walls, while experimenting means building bridges and opening new doors. I'm not saying there are no inherent boundaries. In music, there are 7 fundamental notes. We humans have genes, an upbringing, social norms. But within those limits, there's an infinity of possibilities. So let's do a little exercise right now. I want you to put your hand on your heart, left side. You feel it? It's beating, or at least it should. Because you're sitting right now listening to me, it's quite you can remove your hands. It's quite slow, but I'm sure you've been in situations in which it was racing. Since you're not dead, I assume it was either because you were stressed, excited, or exercising. But I once experienced another reason. I remember vividly, I was taking a series of decisions I didn't feel aligned with, the kind that only leads to eternal regrets. And then I felt it. My heart. I was not stressed, not particularly excited, definitely not working out. And yet it was beating as fast as when you're about to cliff jump. I didn't know what it was at the time. I do now. It was the little me, the kid I had been. She was knocking at my heart's door because she was suffocating. I had locked her up with supposed expectations. I was about to settle for something I thought I needed to do and be, but she couldn't take it. That was not how it was supposed to be. We had all these dreams. We were going to travel the world, climb mountains, breathe underwater, make music, films, whatever. Not this alienating and boring life. So I decided to listen to her. Listen to me, because we're still that little kids. We like to identify ourselves with certain characteristics, social ideas, and roles. But deep down, I'm convinced we're still that little kid with a head full of dreams and stupid existential questions. That creative spirit that always wants to go on an adventure. Not conquer, not even settle, just explore new territories. And in that sense, I don't think freedom lies in finding the path and establishing ourselves. I think freedom lies beyond all of that. I think freedom is off the map. But for that, we don't just need courage and audacity. I think we need a bit of creativity. Remember, 7 notes, an infinity of songs. That's a whole world of possibilities. And if you didn't have parents who encourage you to be that free child, then be this person for yourself. Be this adult that tells you it's okay not to live up to expectations and have crazy ideas. Perhaps we'll never be a complete artwork ready to be showcased, but just an endless draft. And perhaps that's okay. When you listen to a song, your goal is not to be done with the song as soon as possible, right? That's not why you're listening to it. I think we can all agree that the point of music is not the end, but the music itself. Otherwise, the best songs would only last 1 note. But what if it's the same with life? What if this all just exists for its own sake, and we took it all way too seriously since the beginning? No end goal, like in a video game, just an experience whose point is to be alive. By philosophizing, I naturally question everything, especially the world, my identity, existence itself. And ironically, that's how I came to the same realization as philosopher Kierkegaard, that life is not a problem to be solved, but a reality to be experienced. Although the end is not the point, I do think it is a condition. A song that never ends becomes more than irritating at some point, right? Similarly, without death, life wouldn't be that precious. And so I believe that the elusiveness and impermanence of things are exactly what makes them so valuable. When you try to grab a snowflake, it melts in your hand. When you want to catch the rainbow's foot, it's going to fade away. And even if you wanted to, you could never own a music note. So, did I kill you tonight? No, because if you're like a music note, elusive, propagating, untamed, then you can never be fully captured or held onto in the first place. See, I didn't kill you because you never existed. I only killed the concept of you. So in this palette of life, I invite you to create new colors, new sounds, new connections. I invite you to be creative. Be artistic with your life and yourself. These are your masterpieces, yours to design. So be passionate about them. And what's the worst thing that can happen? That on your deathbed, you realize that this draft of yours, that is your life, was fun. Thank you.